Hello, I'm Father Louis Scurti, and I welcome you to Friends of the Word. This is the first Sunday of Advent, a season of preparation, preparing the way of the Lord for His second coming as well as Christmas. God bless you, and thank you for joining us. Pass this on to your family and friends if you like. For further information, contact me at fatherlouscurti@hotmail.com or go on to our website, www.friendsoftheword.org. God bless you, and keep the Word alive and well. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus said to his disciples, "Be watchful, be alert. You do not know when the time will come. It is like a man traveling abroad. He leaves home and places his servants in charge, each with his own work, and orders the gatekeeper to keep the watch. Watch, therefore. You do not know when the Lord of the house is coming, whether in the evening or at midnight or cockcrow or in the morning. May he not come suddenly and find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to all. Watch." The Gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. And so we've gathered again to begin another liturgical year. It's not the calendar year, it's the church year, the first Sunday of Advent. As you heard, we read the Gospel of Mark. This is the cycle of Mark. As we begin this new opportunity to look at Advent, the scriptures give us a lot of questions and possibilities today, I think. What are the themes of Advent, we might ask ourselves? What are some of the key phrases of Advent that comes to us in the scriptures today? Today is the 30th of November. Tomorrow, still Advent, World AIDS Day. An opportunity for us to focus on an illness that gripped the world so many decades ago and is still have remnants throughout the world. December 2nd, the media calls it Giving Tuesday, another opportunity to reevaluate what we are doing during this season of Advent. These are opportunities to be Advent people, to act almost like the Israelites who seek favor in God, but question at times if God is in their lives, or is he absent from them? I think Advent provides us a good time to relate to the Israelites. So I brought with me a sheet of paper that's blank. And each of us can have our own sheet of paper at home, someplace significant, during the season of Advent, and describe what we are experiencing during this season of preparation. St. Paul encourages us by telling us we lack no spiritual gifts. Well, it might be time, we'd say on your sheet of paper, to review the gifts that we have and to look at the trends in the world today that remove the spiritual from the gifts and focus on the materialism of the gifts. So the Christian looks at his and her spiritual gifts: grace, faith, hope, charity. The world can be bothered with that. Every once in a while, someone will play on our heartstrings in a media, movie, or an event, which should not be unusual. It should be the common. But they play on our heartstrings so that maybe a tear will come to our eyes or a gulp in our throat as we realize during this season of Christmas, emotions are high and people look for company and companionship and needs are focused on. It shouldn't be a highlight. For the Christian, it's normal. So maybe one thing we can write on our sheet is, what are the gifts of Advent? As we look to the Israelites who are going through such a horrible experience of faith, that they experience a loss of God. They even shouted, "You're absent from us. We're like here without you." And maybe that's something for us to recollect. To recall in our own lives, are we operating as if God is absent as the lights and the music and the gift wrapping and all that happens? What's on my sheet of paper? Is God hidden from us, we might ask? As the scriptures of Isaiah, I always like this section when Isaiah talks about ourselves in reference to God the Father. We are the clay and you are the potter. We are all the works of your hands. For years, I did pottery, studied it, taught it. And the experience of kneading the dough, knocking it, mixing it, rolling it, came to me last week as I was kneading dough for cookies. I do it once a year. Nobody line up because you're not going to get any. There are not that many, but this is the experience of, just to get into the spirit of kneading the dough and making the cookies and giving little bags to close people around us. But in the process of kneading the dough, as you know, if you bake, you put all the stuff in. I mean, I don't even remember all this stuff. I'm real serious with the recipes. I got to really focus on it. But I know there's eggs in there, there's water in there, there's vanilla in there, and there's flour in there, and there's all that other stuff in there. And then you pile it up, and they say, stir it, and it falls apart. And there's like 1 million pieces of it all over the counter. And you got to bring it back, and you got to bring it back, and throw more flour, and bring it back. And then all of a sudden, all those little simple crumbs of dough are now a ball of dough. And then we're told to get the ball of dough and mold it and fold it and stretch it and do the right things for those particular kinds of cookies. That's an analogy that the Israelites liked, that God molds us. And yet, clay, great symbol for us in the potter story from Isaiah, and the kneading of the dough. Clay was also used 2,200 years ago by the first emperor after whom China is named, of the Qi dynasty, to create, as far as we know, thousands, because there's some still uncovered, thousands of soldiers in Shan, China. Thousands of them in clay. And they were fired. They were made of mold. And recently there was a documentary that showed how they probably did this, made the molds and stuffed them with clay. And the numbers of people, because there were thousands of these clay soldiers in all forms of action and dress and facial features. So everyone was unique. It took a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people. They don't even know how many. But they do know the cruelty of that first emperor, that those who worked until death. And that locally, in the Shan area, there are more than one grave site with the bones of the workers who formed the beautiful Shan army that is now a World Heritage Site. So as we reflect on the power of creation and doing things with clay, in this case, we also reflect on the power of people who have no appreciation for human life. We reflect on the power of that emperor, the cruelty of that emperor, who just used people for his own gratification and, quote, immortality. So maybe on the sheet of paper we can write clay. And how am I being molded? What do I allow to mold me during this season of Advent? Do I allow the peers who are buying this and that to mold me? Do I allow society to mold me? Removing God, focusing on the lights and the trees to mold me? Do I allow love to mold me? Do I allow greed to mold me? We are clay. Almost in our own hands, with our own potentials, to knead ourselves together and then need Christ. But that's our choice. What are you going to write on your sheet of paper? Under clay. And then we hear Jesus, be on watch, be on guard, awake, stay awake. And you can almost hear 21st century, ... silence, because I'll tell you when the best sales are starting. Stay awake. Our newspapers tell us and our media tells us, stay awake because you don't even have to finish your Thanksgiving dinner. I can open a store for you and you know how many stores were open. So you can go there and act like crazy people to get a bargain. Stay awake. So maybe on our sheet of paper we could say, I should be awake and on watch. And once again, if we're in the wrong realm, in darkness rather than light, as we await, we find God missing during the season of Advent. As so many of us focus on the shopping and the sales and the gifts and the parties and the stuff that goes with it. And I'm not removing any of the joy that we share with our children during this and the fellowship with each other during this. But if we're focusing on all of that at the expense of removing Christ, removing God from Advent, what is the appointed time? What time will I have for God? Is it time just to show up early at a store with a coupon that I've ripped out of the newspaper? Is it time to see which department store will give the best bargain? Is it time to be on guard, as Jesus tells us, to be on guard, to watch, as a man leaves his house and leaves those in charge, his servants in charge, and we are stewards of God's creation? Is it time for the stewards to be active, or is it time for the stewards to search for a bargain as we prepare for Christmas? What's on your sheet of paper? Isaiah tells us to tell God to tear open the heavens because we're missing you, God. We miss his presence among us. Tear open the heavens and come on down here. What are we doing about that? Are we patching the clouds of heaven? So you stay there while we get our shopping done. You get there, you stay there. And in our doubt, what do? Well, we'll shop again. We'll shop more. That'll make us feel and experience the presence of God. Not the God of heaven, God here on earth, but we'll make ourselves feel good one way or the other. God is our Father, and he looks down from heaven, Isaiah reminds us, to rescue us. Ooh, that sounds good. God's going to come to rescue us from the mess of war and the mess of poverty and the mess of greed and the mess of disease and the mess of prejudice. God's not going to do that. He's waiting for us to do that. He's already come down from heaven. Emmanuel in the flesh, God with us. What's going to be on our sheet of paper as we surrender to God or to the marketplace? What's going to be on our sheet of paper as we search for a great sale or something more meaningful, or we search for God and a greater amount of God in our lives? So that whenever I give, whatever I give, it's a plant or a piece of bread or a cookie, I give it in the name of Emmanuel. Or, God forbid, I give it so I get one back. Last year at Thanksgiving, Didn't happen this year. The comment didn't happen this year. I brought gifts. My nephew's house, it's all family. And all the mothers, I got a gift for. I don't know, it was a candle or a box of candy, who knows? Every year I do something different. And my oldest nephew says, "Oh, I didn't know we were exchanging gifts." I said, "We're not exchanging gifts. I'm just giving gifts." Now, not to be the magnanimous uncle, but that's what my uncle did, and his uncle probably before him, and that's what I do with the family. Just bring something extra with no expectation. And I'm not doing this out of humility and any of that stuff. I give it because it's the joy of bringing something and knowing that they're not going to have something in their pocket to give me back. And I'm not doing it because I'm a saint. Just do it because I like it. But to give a gift with the thought of, now, what do you get back from it? We already got the gift. Emmanuel. What do we do with the gifts that Paul tells us? We don't lack any spiritual gift. We got the gift. How do we prepare during Advent? And what are we going to write on our sheet as we look for a goal of Advent? A goal that's beyond ourselves. A goal that's beyond December 25th. A goal that's, and definitely not a goal of December 26th when everything's half price. That's not what the goal of Advent is all about. Beyond ourselves, spiritual gifts that I can share with those I love, and share with family and friends, and share with those who have nothing, and share with those who will have Christmas at a shelter or at Eva's kitchen. What are the goals that I have to share with Christmas during the season of Advent as we as Christians surrender to God, not the marketplace, surrender to the Almighty, not the almighty dollar, as we surrender and prepare the way of the Lord? What can I mark in my place? As I continue filling in my sheet for Advent thoughts, maybe it's a call to renewal of my own faith. It could be done as a family. It could be done individually. Renewing myself in the presence of God. Not wasting any time in anticipation. Jesus says, be on guard. Be ready all the time. Don't waste your time. Be ready all the time. Get ready. Because we are clearly in God's presence. God is with us right now. When Jesus gave this piece of his message to us, just so we realize, it was right before the Garden of Gethsemane. Right before he gave himself ultimately. So the scriptures remind us, always be on guard. You never know when Christ is coming. But we know Christ is with us. And what is our task in between the first and second coming? Advent, a season of preparation. Advent is like our blank page. Knock your socks off, pull out your crayons, pull out your pens, text it, write it, email it. I don't care how you communicate it to yourselves or those you love. The preparation messages of Advent. What does Advent mean to me? As I look deeper into the scriptures and into myself and into the season, not the winter season, not the calendar season, not the dates, but the time, the presence of Emmanuel with us. This is our time. Christ says, enjoy it, get ready, and always be alert for the coming of Emmanuel. Always be alert to see him among the poor, among our family members, among the stranger. Be on guard, be alert, be aware. He might be the next person you see as you leave here today. Let's get ready.